Welcome to the Easy Marketing Guide with Julie Niehoff on the Listen Up Network. This is our weekly podcast with helpful, practical advice for small businesses and nonprofits. If you like what you hear today, please hit subscribe so that you will always have the latest episode. And you can always go to our website, theeasymarketingguide.com, to get free downloads and helpful links for everything we talk about on the show. Okay, welcome. This is episode 105, and today we're going to talk about startups and growth and sustainability. And welcome. My name is Julie Niehoff. I'm your host. Say hi, CJ.
Hi, CJ.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about startups, but not the way that a lot of people talk about startups. We're not going to do a lot of snapping and aren't I cool and talk hipster. We're going to talk to two very interesting, really great guests. I'm excited. Separately, we're going to do two separate interviews, and they come at the startup conversation from two very different places. Which, you know, one of the best things about doing the show is getting to talk to interesting people. So
it is. And today is both people that we have on here, and we've kind of split it down the middle in what we're going to be doing. And Ruben Can is one, and Bob Shaver is the other. And both of them are, wow, extraordinary.
Yeah. So Bob is our influencer interview is with Bob Shaver. And Bob is a great man. He's got a really unique perspective on growing a business. I sometimes joke with him that he's the ultimate startup guy, but that's because he was there at the beginning of some of the companies that we just think of as huge behemoths. Can't imagine them as a startup businesses.
Oracle.
Yeah, Oracle and Google and a lot of big companies that, we don't really think of as a startup. So he's going to come in and share some of his wisdom in terms of what it takes to actually run a business, not just start it and grow it, with the fun of that and the excitement of that, but how do you run it? What are the key things that he's learned from being involved in those companies?
Sustainability.
Yeah, to keep the company going and growing. So,
man, and he was Oracle, the senior vice president for administration and president of Oracle Real Estate Corporation, national director of administration for Ernst & Young.
Yeah.
The senior VP of client services for Staubach Company in Dallas, and global facilities director of Google.
We'll talk about this in the interview, but I will tell you that part of the reason he's jumped around is because he goes in when they're not sure what to do and he helps fix it. And then he's like, okay, I'm done here. You're on your own, and moves on and helps somebody else do it. And I think that's great because we're going to benefit from all that experience to talk to him. So.
And we talk about SCORE too, which is an awesome organization.
That's right. He is a mentor at SCORE, which is the Service Corps of Retired Executives. It's a national organization. A lot of people don't know about it because they don't advertise, but we'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll put some information about SCORE on the website as well. So
I didn't talk too much in the interviews.
Well, I think we had guests in the...
Yeah, well, his lovely wife, Lynn Pastor Shaver, was in here, and so I was entertaining as that was going down.
We need to have Lynn on in her own right.
I think so.
She's got a great marketing mind and a lot of experience in retail and other industries. I think we should talk to Lynn, too.
I agree. Future reference.
So, we're going to have Bob, but first, we're going to talk to Ruben Can, too.
Another amazingly interesting person.
He is. Ruben is really active in the social good movement, which is sort of I'll attribute to Mashable. Mashable started the Social Good Summit, and it's part of that movement that, we've all sort of witnessed, the millennial generation and others bringing forward social good into their business practice, into their, making sure they're taking care of their people and their community, not just the bottom line, not just making money. And Ruben's playing a key role, not just in Austin, but in the world. He's a connector for the Social Good Summit and is working with the UN Foundation. And, he's got a lot to say and share about what he's seeing in the world and what new startups are doing in terms of helping more than just their bottom line.
It was a great show.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Let's do it. Let's talk to Ruben.
All right, welcome. And I have Ruben Can in the studio with me. Welcome, Ruben.
Thank you for having me.
I want to tell people that you are the executive director of Austin Social Good, which is a community-based social good incubator. It's part of the Global Social Good Summit, which I've heard of, many people have heard of, and you're a connector in that organization. You're doing a lot of work that's good for a lot of people. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you do with?
Yeah, for sure. So Austin Plus Social Good is part of a national and actually a global network called Plus Social Good that was spun out of the Social Good Summit about 3 years ago. And so alongside with the UN Foundation, we've kind of created a group of change makers that are actually out there focusing on how to promote social innovation and entrepreneurship in their own parts of the world.
So tell me what it means to people on the ground.
So we all have similar issues that we're all facing in our own different parts of the community and different parts of the world. What if we were able to create a network, a global network that is grassroots oriented, that would all talk to each other and share stories and solutions about what's working in their part of the world so that we can learn from each other and we can iterate faster. Now with the network effect that we have, there's no reason why we can't bring technology to places that are connected to that network. This is why you see such great growth and abundance happening in Africa.
Okay, so are you mostly talking about reaching out to underserved areas, or are you talking about
It's
everywhere?
about connecting with the global south with the global north. It's about connecting people who have resources to those who are resourceful.
Okay, so when you're part of the Austin group,
Yes.
are you solving problems in Austin, or are you contributing to the greater?
We are solving problems in Austin and then sharing those solutions with our global community.
Great. I do love that. So because I know you from the for-profit world, previous to all of this great work that you've been doing, what do you think you're bringing? Because on the show, we have sort of a basic tenet between for-profit business and nonprofit, that both are a business. You're moving revenue, you are marketing or doing outreach, if you don't like the word marketing for a nonprofit. It is a business, and I want to know what you have brought from your experience in the for-profit world over to this nonprofit world.
What I want to explain is that we're going through a fundamental paradigm shift in the way commerce and capitalism work. And no longer is it about black or white. No longer is it for-profit or nonprofit. There's a hybrid and innovation happening. We're seeing more companies become more philanthropic and more socially minded. We have many companies creating corporate social responsibility departments. And what we're trying to do is get the global community to understand that if you want to do good and make money, that's okay. And if you're a nonprofit, you can also start implementing entrepreneurial thinking and mindset so that you can also be on the cutting edge, because no longer is just working from a donor base going to be sustainable. We need to be able to work out new ways to build in earned revenue models and even diversifying equity. So we need to start thinking towards the middle, because that's really what's going to be much more sustainable in order for these great causes to continue to push forward.
So where do you think the push is coming? Do you think it's a generational thing? Do you think it's a necessity that's born out of people not having enough backing for their nonprofits? Where is this coming from?
Since 2008 in the economic collapse, we saw that the dream that we were sold wasn't exactly accurate. In 2010, when the Social Good Summit was founded in New York, lots of people attended. Now, the Social Good Summit is partnered with the United Nations General Assembly Week. That's when all the big diplomats and leaders around the world get together to talk about big problems. But if you don't have high credentials and access, you can't get there. So the Social Good Summit allows an opportunity for people who are regular to also access this conversation. And so I think what ended up happening is we saw a lot of the young community become frustrated. This was not right anymore, and we needed to figure out how to take charge and take hold of our future. And we saw that the system that was created wasn't created with us in mind. And so we needed to be able to figure out better ways so that way our children and our children's children can have a better world.
I love that. And I can get completely behind that. I'm curious about whether you feel that the people involved, yourself included, but everyone involved with this, I'll call it a movement, for lack of a better word, whether you feel that you are opening a door into the existing system or are you creating a new system?
So Buckminster Fuller said that you can't eradicate old systems. The only way you can do that is to create a new system to replace it. So the only way to do that is you need to become a bridge. You need to understand how the system is actually intact now, and then move people towards thinking in a new way, in a new process. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. And what we advocate is what we call the triple bottom line. The triple bottom line is pretty simple. We understand that businesses have to make money. We call that the bottom line. The double bottom line is when you actually start taking care of people. The triple bottom line is when you start considering what the impact is on the environment. So it's people, planet, and profit.
That's beautiful.
And here's a beautiful part of the work that we do. It doesn't matter the size of your company. If you start with these tenets in mind and you build your business model around it, you can actually make more money by being more socially conscious than if you would just focus on just making strict dollars.
So is there a platform? Is there a place to go to find, follow these steps and you will be reaching that thing?
We're going to be launching our new brand, socialgood.us, in the fall. In the meanwhile, you can go to bcorporation.net and learn how to become a B Corporation or a B certified company, where they adopt these principles and you learn how to actually become a B Corporation, a benefit corporation. That is the evolution of what an S Corporation, a C Corporation, LLC are. Mm-hmm. It basically says that you are not just entitled to maximize the profit for its shareholders and stockholders, but for the community. So you also are responsible and held accountable by the community with your business.
That's beautiful. I don't see how anyone can be against that. I mean, I realize that profit is the bottom line and the bottom line wins. We both recognize that. But that there are other layers of it, and finally putting words to that is really important and beautiful.
And here's the beautiful thing about that. See, people think that if you take care of your customer, then everything's going to be taken care of. But it's actually backwards. If you take care of your employees, they take care of your customer. If you take care of your customer, they take care of your shareholders. And your shareholders are taken care of, they take care of you as business. So if we start putting our employees first and start thinking about it in that manner, then we actually don't have to choose either or. It's an and.
Yes. And especially for companies that are selling a product or a service, every employee is your first line of sales, regardless of whether you have a sales team or not, because their experience when they go home and talk to their neighbors or their family about their experience working for you is the front line of what people really think of your company.
That's called level 5 leadership. If you go back to studying how Jack Welch ran his company, and even if you read up on Jim Collins' writing, it talks about not just putting people on the bus, but finding the right chauffeur, the right driver, and then getting the right people in the right seats on the right bus. Because once you have that, it really doesn't matter where you're going.
Sure.
Because you can get there when you have the right team in place. So the way you find a right team is that you got to understand who you are first, and then start knowing your strengths and weaknesses and being open and transparent and vulnerable to it, so that you can hire the right people to fill in your gaps and really build out an A-star team.
So, that's inspirational to me. To hear that is something that people can actually go and find it. We'll put it on the website so they don't have to look around. They can go to theeasymarketingguide.com and find links to all of the things that you just talked about. That's an aspirational place to go. It's a direction for everyone, regardless of size of your organization, for or nonprofit. We also have a belief on this show that luck is not the driving factor for the success of any organization. That it's not about luck. It's about making your luck. It's about being ready when the opportunity comes.
And I add to that, it's about resilience. It's about the ability for you to get up and then keep pushing through. Because so many people have so many resources at their hand, and they're like, oh my God, this is so hard, I'm giving up. And then you see the person who had very little resources, they just keep tugging along. Next thing you know, they're further ahead than where you're at.
Yep. We talk often about the number of people that we know who are very successful, or know about who are very successful. You never find those people without failures in the list of the things that they've experienced. They all have failures, and it's been the failures that helped them grow.
Because that's where the lesson's at. So I'm actually looking forward to failing.
All right. I really appreciate your time today, Ruben. Thank you for inspiring our listeners.
Thank you very much, Julie.
Absolutely. How great is Ruben?
Oh, pretty great, man. I mean, seriously, he's an inspiration.
He is, and he's just a fireball of sunshine. I'm always in a good mood when I see him, and I'm always in a good mood after I've seen him, and everyone around him, he just lifts you up, and he brings so much heart to everything. I think he's amazing.
Absolutely. And there's so much to be said for people like that. And I see great things for him soon.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of great things, we have a really good interview coming up next with Bob Shaver.
So, you want to hear a fun fact?
You have a fun fact?
Yes.
Sure. Okay. What's your fun fact?
October 19th, 2010 was Bob Shaver Day in Frisco, Texas.
No.
Yes. And he was, I guess he was responsible for the largest farmer's market north of Dallas.
A farmer's market.
Yes, and for his efforts on Christmas on the Square. And he was moving to Austin, so he was leaving the city.
Oh, they were sad. 'cause
And they
he
were
was
sad. And so
leaving.
they said yes. So they said yes, it's going to be Bob Shaver Day.
All right, so we're going to talk to Bob,
Yeah.
and Bob.
Bob has been Global Facilities Director of Google, Senior VP Client Services for the Starbucks Company, National Director of Administration for Ernst & Young, and Senior VP Administration President, Oracle.
Oh, and he's also a SCORE mentor, and he's on the board at the Ronald McDonald House here in Austin.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's always busy, always helping.
Yeah.
He's an amazing man.
Well, let's talk to him.
Let's do it. All right, we're here today with Bob Shaver, local leader. He's got a lot of experience with nonprofits, with mentoring businesses. He's had many of his own businesses. And welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming today, Bob. I want to tell how I met you and why I have you here. So I was at an event that was hosted by SCORE, which stands for
Service Corps of Retired Executives.
SCORE.org is a great organization and available all over the country, helping small businesses for free. It's a beautiful thing. But I was speaking at an event, and I was sitting at a back table, as I usually do. I usually lurk in the back. And you were a SCORE mentor that day, I believe. You had a Ronald McDonald pin on. We'll talk about that in a second. And someone on the stage, I don't know if you even remember this, but it was Willie Nelson's birthday. And someone speaking on the stage referenced a line from a Willie Nelson song and quoted Willie Nelson, but it was not a Willie Nelson quote. It was a song that he performs, but he had not written it. And and you and I both at the same time said Willie Nelson didn't write that. And I knew we were going to be friends. Well, you're sort of a business whisperer. And when I say business, I am including nonprofits. I say that all the time. It's sort of a tenet of the show that a nonprofit is a business. The profits just don't happen to go into the owner's pocket. You still have revenue. You still have a bank account. You still have staff in many cases. Exactly. All the same things apply, just a few different laws. So with that in mind, what are the most common things that you see that people's organizations, it's not a knock on the people, but their organizations are lacking or need or don't realize they need? Do you walk in every time and it's the same thing?
The most important thing is good people. Singularly, without any debate, whatever's in second place is way back there behind. Find good people and get them into your organization first. The success of companies like Oracle, all based on the quality of the people that attract and develop and retain. And so the first thing I look at always, whether I'm there as an employee or as a mentor or as a consultant, is I want to talk to all the people and find out what they do and make my own assessment of their potential.
Did you learn that the hard way?
I've made mistakes, and typically I have expected more from people than we're actually capable of. I'm an optimistic person and a confident person. I tend to fall in love with the people that work for me. I have long relationships with people that worked for me in the past. And so the mistakes that I've made have generally been on that side, but not too many. So
That's interesting, though. I mean, you didn't even have a question. You didn't hesitate or say there's really two or three. It was top of the heap, people.
Always people. And then I've done a lot of jobs and whatnot, and I've tried to learn from managers that I've had, and I've had good managers and some really bad managers. But
we're not asking you to name names.
No.
Right.
But I've developed, just like 2 or 3 little rules that I try to impart to everybody. And the first one of those has to do with managers' responsibility to the people that work for them is to make sure that they have the resources, whatever those resources are, to be successful. Because it's also patently true that if your people fail, you fail. So get good people, give them what they need to be successful, and then check and make sure that things are going the way that they should be. Not that difficult.
Not that difficult. Well, it's not complicated.
Not complicated.
But it is a dance that not everyone is as good at as you know, you've had some experience at it. You've had a chance to make some mistakes. I do want to know what your approach is with people when you're mentoring them, when you're helping them either grow their business or sustain it, which is also an issue.
That's an issue here in Austin. More than new businesses, sustaining businesses once they get up and running is really a trick.
Well, let's talk about that, because I do find that CJ and I have both noticed that we tend to talk about starting a business so much because there's so many people starting a business. But you can't just start it. You have to keep it going and sustain it. And in fact, later, when you're ready to leave it, either leave it in good hands or close it or sell it, there's a process there that not everyone knows. Do you help people with that too?
I do, and I've had lots of good experiences with lots of very successful entrepreneurs and some not so successful entrepreneurs. And there's a kind of a common thread. Their vision and their enthusiasm toward their vision, and the way they're able to gather other people and get them to believe in the vision. Day-to-day things that make a business go don't get the attention that they need. So initially things are all, very, very good. And then unless somebody begins to focus on the day-to-day operational requirements of supporting a business, the business will fail. And
Can you see that coming when you walk in and look at where things are?
yes, sometimes. Well, usually.
Where do you see it?
I think my favorite example is, and maybe this anecdote is too long, I don't know, but I was working for a company in Dallas that was bought by another company. And part of the process was everybody got fired. We got nice checks, but everybody got fired. So I needed another job, so I wrote a letter to Larry Ellison. Never met the man. He didn't know me from beans, and I wrote a letter and said that, and this was in 1987, and I said, from the outside, you look at all the success you're having, but I'll bet you're having this, and, I left 4 or 5 issues that I suspected that they were having. On the strength of this cold letter, they flew me out and I interviewed with Larry. And the first words out of his mouth were, "I'm not sure I want anybody like you in my company." And I said, "Why not?" And he said, "Well, we're doing an entrepreneurial thing. We get a lot of dynamic personalities, and some of that pressure between the organizations and everything, the best ideas will rise to the top." And I said, "Yeah, that's one way to look at it, but the attention that you guys are paying right now is on revenue and new product rollout and all the success of going public and whatnot." And I said, "And nobody's looking at the things that I'm the best at, and that is recruiting and where are these people going to work and all of the services that make a company successful on a day-to-day basis." And I said, "That's actually the work that I like to do. And I said, and besides, if you hire me and you don't like the way that I do things, you can always fire me."
Did he hire you?
And he liked that. So we sat down and we took a pad of paper and we wrote up the things. We negotiated the things that I would be responsible for. And I got back on the plane and went back to Texas, packed my car and drove back.
So let me ask you a question about this. That's a great story. Sight unseen, man unmet, sending that letter. How did you know that they would be facing those exact same things? I have my own thoughts about it, but I want to know what you
Because
say
it's
to
pretty
that.
typical. These are really, really smart people, and the pace is very, very fast. They know, they've worked at other companies, so they've had, they know the environment and the way things should go. But typically, they don't value those services. They don't value the operational things. And one of the disconnects about that is that investors do, people who write about companies do, potential new employees do. So while, product rollouts and dealing with bugs and all that stuff gets all of the senior management attention, the things that really, really attract over the long term don't get the attention that they need. So Same sort of thing, figure out what you need, put good people in there, give them the resources that they need, help them develop, and then back off and let them run it.
So it's really fair to say, or is it fair to say, that you could send that letter or something like it to any business that is established and in growth mode, no matter how big
pretty
or
much,
small?
Pretty much. Depends on.
I don't mean to downgrade your letter.
The founder's experience is really, really important.
Yes.
Larry was a charismatic individual, brilliant mind, and he had a vision of what the future was going to be in high tech. He actually borrowed that vision from a couple guys at IBM who had written about it, and he convinced his boss, who became his founding partner, that this was a great idea and they ought to mortgage themselves to the hilt and go do this thing, and they did. And it's a fabulous story.
But it's not the whole ball of wax, just like you're saying.
No. It's not true that every new company will have skyrocket growth and then plateau and then fall apart. I have one couple right now that I'm working with at SCORE as their mentor, who come from a business consulting background. And they're going to start a nonprofit. They know exactly what to do. And so my responsibility to them is mostly pointing out where the resources are that they know that they need. And so not everybody needs the same things, but there is a common theme about problems.
And I think it's important to point out that all these things we're talking about with big business also apply to small organizations. Absolutely. Even if you're just a mom and pop working from your garage, you still have to make the cake batter and not just focus on the frosting. It all matters.
Absolutely.
And none of it can be ignored.
You have to figure it out how to make your way and who you want to make your way with.
Yes.
Because it's easy to follow.
I'm glad you said figure it out. Figure it out as a saying in our family. When our children are trying to struggle with or they're trying to figure something out, how to put something together or make it work, most of the time we won't do it for them. We'll just say figure it out.
I agree. Yeah. That's a good way to parent.
It's so hard for me, but I do it.
We have 3 children and all very successful in what they do. And none of them got all the answers or all the money or
Yep.
that they might have wanted. It was,
How can you become self-made if you're not self-made?
They had to figure it out.
Sure. And do you apply any of that to the businesses that you mentor?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I was at Xerox Corporation, I had a boss, Susan Close, who handed me a 2-page document one day right after I went to work for her. And she was sort of a austere, obviously much smarter than me person. And she said, I want you to read this and follow this. This is the way you're going to relate to me.
Oh.
And I, never heard of it, seen anything like that. It was something that's called the Doctrine of Completed Staff Action. It goes back into the 40s. The British invented it, and the Americans adopted it, and a lot of businesses use it. But it's simply a definition of the relationship between the boss and the subordinate, and puts the responsibility to figure out what is a problem, what might the solution be, and to sell that and to get the approval from the boss. Puts all of that on the subordinate, which bad subordinates can't deal with. Good subordinates actually like that because it's a learning opportunity for them. They learn how to sell, negotiate, research. I mean, it's a very, very cool tool. And I teach that to everybody who's ever worked for me and everybody that I mentor.
That's beautiful.
A little more about SCORE. The SCORE Austin chapter is composed of 50 or 60 mostly retired men and women. And I said most of the people are retired because there are still some people who, and I'm thinking recently we were approached by an executive at Dell who wants to give back to their community, much as I'd had to do as a young manager at Xerox. There are mentors like me who go out and meet on site with the mentee or the organization. I do that for a couple of my clients. There are other mentors who go into the SCORE office, and whoever comes through the door gets assigned to that individual as a mentor, and it's their responsibility to find the resources that that person needs, and that may mean co-mentoring with somebody else, or maybe they'll assign them to somebody else.
So you can get help with almost any industry.
Oh, absolutely. The variety of things that the people have done at SCORE and the jobs that they've had. I mean, one fellow, I was talking to him early on, and I said, well, what did you do? And he said, well, I was responsible for global marketing for General Motors. And I'm thinking, whoa, that's a big job.
Yeah. But how wonderful for someone who might be starting.
Absolutely. The depth of their experience and their commitment to the people that they mentor is fabulous to see.
I've known about SCORE for a long time. I have a lot of different friends who either I've told them or they found it on their own, but it's rare to find it on your own.
Yeah. We also we run a program at Fort Hood for men and women who are either in the service and want to have a business on the side, which happens a lot, or they have an idea about a business that they want to start when they get out. It's called Boots to Business. And SCORE mentors go up to Killeen and put on seminars up there for the guys and girls who are getting out of service.
I love that.
And I'm a veteran, so that appeals to me very, very much.
Well, thank you for your service. And thank you for your time today. This has been great.
Pleased to have done it.
I think that's a great place to stop. I really appreciate you spending the time today, and I'm so glad I met you at that SCORE event.
I'm so pleased that you invited me, and you want to talk about other stuff at other times, I'm happy to do that.
We'll definitely have you back. Thank you so much. How great is Bob?
You know what affected me most, I think, out of Bob's?
Ooh, tell me.
Afterwards, he talked about the doctrine of completed staff action, or the doctrine of completed staff work. And I went and looked it up. And it is a powerful document, very short, small document that was based on, it was World War II. And so it was like this guy from the Royal Canadian Army just posted it.
It's just 7 lines. I mean, it's 7 statements.
I know.
Okay.
I think my favorite one, though, is the chief is protected from half-baked ideas, voluminous memoranda, and immature oral presentations.
Yeah, when I read that, I had this wash of memories of various times in my life that I've approached a boss with some minutia or not knowing the answer, and either whining or not handling things the way that I should have when I read this.
Well, and it can go the other way too. The manager can't micromanage.
It's true.
You can't get in other people's stuff if you assign it to them. You shouldn't
Points
do
to
that.
meeting good people then.
Well, it does, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was another point that Bob made. It's all about the people, and so you learn how to manage them as well.
For sure. I'm going to read the last line of it because I think it's really impactful.
Please do.
When you have finished your completed staff work, the final test is this. If you were the chief, would you be willing to sign the paper you have prepared and stake your professional reputation on its being right? If the answer is negative, take it back and work it over because it is not yet completed staff work.
Brilliant!
What else is there to say
Not
other
much.
than get your job right? Do it.
Well, and it really lends to what we talk about on this show a lot. Is it's not just starting a company, it's sustainability, and part of sustainability is choosing the right people and then knowing how to manage them to give them their own pride.
And like Bob said, equipping them. You have to give them the tools.
You have to
that
give
they
them
need.
the tools, number one.
And you have to give them the space to make those decisions or to gather the information so that you can make the decision, I guess is really what this is. All right, so here's what we know for episode 105 on startups from 2 different perspectives. We know that the Social Good Summit was founded in 2010 and works with the UN Foundation to promote social innovation and entrepreneurship.
Ruben at the middle of it.
That's right. Ruben is part of the Austin Plus Social Good organization, and that group and other groups that are associated with the Social Good Summit are all working to help people manage a variety of issues and challenges, and they're all over the world, and they're trying to share solutions and using technology to do that, which I think that's great.
And the 3 bottom lines too.
Oh, that's right. The triple bottom line, which includes working to help your people, to make profit and to help the
Social
planet or the community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Very cool.
Ruben told us that socialgood.us will launch in the fall, but he also told us that right now people can go to bcorporation.net to learn how to become a B certified or benefit corporation, which makes your company accountable not just to your shareholders, but also to the community and the people who work for you and the rest of the world.
I love that that's becoming part of the vernacular.
We know that your employees are your front line of sales, and that level 5 leadership, like that explained from Jack Welch, says putting people in the right seats on the bus is very important, which leads us to the doctrine of completed staff action, or the doctrine of completed staff work, which is a brilliant piece, and we'll put it on the website so people can look at it and decide if they want to use it in their own company. We know that success requires resilience, that luck is less of a factor than making your luck, and that failure is where the lessons are. We know that for-profit and nonprofit organizations are both businesses. They both manage money, people, outcomes, planning, projects, and have many of the same issues that need to be solved. We know that SCORE stands for the Service Corps of Retired Executives, and that SCORE is an organization that mentors America's small business owners and operators and nonprofits in many cities, and can help people who are starting their own business or are running their own business to learn how to grow that business and manage that business better. We know that SCORE mentoring is free, and you can find information about that on score.org. There are local organizations all over the country.
And on our website.
We know that we have the best guests on our podcast, not just this one, but all of them so far. And we will post links to everything we've talked about on this show on theeasymarketingguide.com. Tell your friends, leave us a review, and thank you for spending part of your day with us. Go out there and make it a good day. You can do this. Earn your luck.
Cheers.